Welcome to the Seek Outside podcast.
And then you think that's bad? You see Ryan on the phone in the office. Seek Outside podcast.
Some people are just wired that way.
Welcome to the Seek Outside podcast. Today is December 17th, and we have a hype man, Owen Tim here. Ready to just get this thing hypey. He's the ad-lib guy.
Bow, bow, bow.
He's going to be providing sound effects throughout the whole episode, so tune out now while you still can. No, we got a fun episode for you today. Christmas is coming up, but we have Cathy Tarr on the podcast today. She works for the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation, which deals with like finding missing hikers, specifically on some of the thru-hiking trails, PCT. And before we get into some of the other stuff, well, actually, maybe I'll save the backstory for the end here, but it's a good episode, and there's a kind of a cool story as to how we got her on the podcast. But yeah, we're going to cover just a couple of shop things, and then we are going to reflect on 2025.
And our bad choices.
Bad choices. Yep. Yeah, lessons learned from the backcountry.
Lessons learned.
Yeah. So kind of a little not so gear specific, more philosophical. Going to be doing some introspection.
Lessons learned from Ryan's camp 50 feet off the road and courthouse.
Yeah, that's rule number one. To kill an elk, you don't hike far. Never hike far. That's how you kill elk. They're right next to the road. They bed 25 yards off the road.
It's a proven fact.
Yeah.
Definitely not against the statistics I've seen.
It is actually a proven fact because there were, in my situation, there were elk bedded off the road. So it's technically a fact.
Sorry, bro.
To my reality.
If I don't kill past 2 miles back, don't count.
Doesn't even count. Yeah.
It's just like basically harvesting a cow.
It's road hunting.
Yeah.
If you're not 2 miles off, you're still road hunting. But yeah, we're going to get into
Maybe I'm just jealous.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think probably. Because, I'm jealous of myself. I hope that happens every year. But anyway, to start off, we're going to hit a couple shop-specific things. If you guys are in Grand Junction, maybe you've already seen it if you're on social media, but we're doing something cool. Basically, we're doing what we're calling a treasure hunt / scavenger hunt. If you're in Grand Junction, we got together with a bunch of local businesses, Hill People Gear, Stitches and Stuff, Trail Life, Gear Junction, Western Anglers, Low Key Gear, Pablo's Pizza, Roots Gastro Hub. I started to say a few, and then I decided I had to say them all.
Yeah.
I might have missed somebody in there, but put together 2 gear packages, well over $500, that we are going to be hiding. One is going to be closer to town, and then one's going to be a little bit farther off. December 20th. So basically, if you want to sign up, what you have to do is you have to go on Instagram or Facebook and follow. You'll see the post on our page. Follow all the businesses that are involved, and then share the post as well. And then the final thing that you have to do is you have to sign up for the email on our website. If you click on the link in our bio, or you just go to our website, scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see where to sign up for the holiday scavenger hunt. And we're going to actually send out an email with a couple clues on how you can find these packages. That's going to be December 20th. So you have a few days to sign up and get ready. But basically, if you're local, Grand Junction, should be a fun way to we're trying to get some collaborations with other local companies and gear companies and restaurants and stuff like that for the holidays, and
Get people out shopping local.
Yeah, enjoy the nice weather as well.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing that we have is we did just recently release multiple sizes of the flat rolls.
Yep. Flat roll. More sizes there. We also have 2 other new products. Camo stove bag, if you're a camo guy, and a base camp bundle bag. So it's designed to fit your stove your tent, your poles, all that stuff. So just something that you can pretty much just a carrying tote, you know, if you use your stuff for base camp like we often do. You know, if you want your 8-person, your stove, everything just in a grab and go bundle, it's pretty sweet, and they're pretty affordable.
Yeah, and it's doesn't weigh much at all, but it's a good way to keep, especially the bigger shelters, all in the same spot, so that you're not losing your gear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's basically it. Oh, we do have free shipping in the contiguous United States for that's the word.
Contiguous?
Yeah.
Really?
For the rest of December. So that'll end December 31st. So if you spend more than $75, free shipping. So check out the website.
Now on to the show.
On to the show.
Skirt bop.
Skirt bop. Funny story. I used to have when I worked at a recording studio. It's not really funny, but tickles my brain. There's this guy. His name was Priest. Awesome rapper. Funny enough, that's basically all I recorded was rap artists at this studio.
Yeah.
But this guy was known for his ad libs. Like he would come up with the craziest ones. He'd spend 15 minutes like working out different like syllable combinations to make his ad libs.
Maybe you should be the hype man then.
I know. Well, he was great at it.
Yeah.
But he had one. It was my favorite for some reason. I just love it. But he'd go brr yup yup. Brr yup yup. It was awesome. In a rap song, it was unbelievable.
I like the bow bow bow.
Bow, bow,
The
bow.
Waka Flocka Flay.
Yeah, Waka Flocka he was a legend.
Epic.
Yeah. Yep.
On to the show.
Cool. Yeah. For the second time. So yeah, these are kind of 5 lessons each from the backcountry. You want to dive into it? You want to get it going?
Yeah. Ryan, he believes he's a great young Socrates, so his are going to be more mind blow.
Well, no, they're just more like yours were kind of like some more, gear preparation. Mine are kind of like I don't know. You'll see when you listen to them.
Yeah. I think a lot of mine are going to be things people have told you before, but maybe you should kind of take it a little more seriously. Or I should have. This is, I guess, lessons for myself, right?
Lessons learned the hard way.
Yeah, people tell you something, and you're like, get out of here. And now, kind of, I learned a lot. I spent a lot of time outdoors.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll start out. Number 1 is preparation for somewhat emergency situation. Now, I had this happen more times than I'd like to admit this year. Just on normal day trip stuff where I was either got like rained out really, really cold or like I needed something to have some protection. I had it happen during hunting season, had it happen on just a pack raft trip for a day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what inspired the flat roll to be made. So, yeah, I guess just be more prepared, where like take a headlamp, take that extra layer, take those extra things that you might not need.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have stuff I don't need and carry it around and all that stuff than not have it when I need it.
Yeah,
like
need it and not have it rather than.
I guess the biggest one that happened to me was we were floating in our pack raft and it got really windy and we started late in the day and then it started raining. It was a perfectly clear day, like shorts and t-shirt weather. Then it got really windy, and we were wet, so we got really cold. Then it started raining and the wind was making it so we wouldn't go down the river hardly at all. And so it was like, we need headlamps or a tarp or just some way to get better. And we lucked out because somebody was at a takeout. But yeah, it was like Sunday.
Yeah.
All this stuff.
Yeah.
We would have been real screwed. We still had like 4 river miles. It was dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so it's a good point. And it kind of leads into one of mine, which I was more thinking about it like, no matter how prepped you think you are, still, like, don't get cocky when you're talking about. Mine was more, I had one trip where I forgot multiple important things. Steaks, shoes,
yeah,
freaking like, I mean, I guess that was it, but that was kind of 2 huge ones. And I think it came from me being like, you know, first off, in my pack, I usually have everything. And so a lot of times I'll just be like, oh, I haven't taken anything out from last time. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to pull this out. But it came from like being cocky about it.
Yep.
And I think no matter what, you still gotta respect.
Definitely.
And that's, I mean, speaking of the interview today, when we're talking about missing hikers, I mean, in the interview, we talk about that, people just being, you can't be too cocky, whether it's gear preparation or just in your physical ability
Yeah.
when it comes to the outside.
I think that's what happened to me a lot this year is like, no way it's going to rain. No way it's going to this. No
Yeah.
way, it's going to take us 3 hours, like
Yeah.
just stuff like that where I've spent so much time doing stuff around the Western Slope. I feel like I know it,
Mhm.
down to a T, but you don't.
Yeah.
Even after living here for 20 odd years and being an outdoorsman my whole life,
Yeah.
you don't know it.
Or you do, like, I feel like the thing with the rain is I'm always like, oh, it might rain, but it usually rains like 15 minutes and then it gets sunny again.
Yeah, and you're going to be good, but sometimes it can be days
Yeah.
of socked in crap. So,
Or sometimes, like, that backpacking trip that I'm referring to, I mean, it started basically snowing
yeah,
at 14,000 feet in July. Not
Yeah.
14,000, but, way up high, and it's a lot colder than you're prepped for.
yeah,
So,
1000%.
yeah.
Well,
Well, since I did that, they were kind of the same. You hit
yeah.
the next one here.
All right, going into number 2. It's kind of on the same line. Just start earlier than you think, just in general, or allow yourself that extra hour if you're feeling slow that day. Allow yourself that extra time, especially this time of the year where the light is, it's not warm enough to want to go do something until a little later in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets really cold really quick,
Mm-hmm.
So you have this narrow time window, that extra hour, or you might be tired from, whatever. What am I trying to say? You might be like physically exhausted on a hike or a ride or whatever activity you're doing, and having that extra hour of kind of safety or that little bit of extra time is nice.
Just plan for everything to last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I think that, like, on our deer hunt this year, right, when we got 2 bucks down
Yeah.
back, I remember you were like, oh yeah, we might be able to drive home tonight. I was like,
Yeah.
there ain't no way, brother.
See, that's my biggest problem. I think that's why it's a lesson for me is that I am very optimistic. Like, we did a 4th season elk hunt with another buddy, and opening day knocked down 2 cows. And I was like, dude, we'll have this, we were like 2 miles back, and I was like, yeah, we'll have this out,
Mm-hmm.
It was his first elk he ever killed, so we did mine and then did his,
Mm-hmm.
and had to teach him and all that stuff. But like, it didn't account for that extra time.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we were like, we got back to the truck at like 8:30 at night, and we were like, we'll get the rest in the morning. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, man, we're gonna get it done tonight. We're gonna go home. We're gonna go back to camp. We're gonna smack some tenderloins.
Yeah.
And then we got back to camp, drank 1 beer, and went to bed.
Midnight.
Yeah.
You don't realize, especially with like packing out animals, sometimes it can take like 10 or 15 minutes to get your pack loaded properly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or like, and then you have to like hang things up, and it takes 5 minutes. Maybe you are in a bad spot. You have to walk things down to a shady spot to hang them. It's like all those little things add up to be an extra couple hours, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, same thing with that little raft trip. It was like, oh, well, we can go a little later, it'll be a little warmer. And yeah, we went out, then we like, oh, we got to go grab this real quick, or let's air up the rafts. Like, all that stuff ends up being 30 minutes, an hour, 10 minutes here, like all that time, and it just adds up. So my overly optimistic, I think I get it from my girlfriend, truly, is because she's very optimistic on time, and I think it's bled in over to me.
Yeah.
And she's like, we'll just leave in 10 minutes. We'll be there quick. It'll take us 9 minutes to get there. We'll be on time. We're an
That
hour
doesn't
late.
account for doesn't account for all the other stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good one. Treat time with a little bit more respect. Yeah. Um, my next one is just being open to new strategies, just with everything, whether it's fishing, whether it's hunting, hiking. I feel like this year I did uh, in multiple situations. I mean, obviously our deer hunt, right? That was something that I probably would not have done,
Mm-hmm.
and we ended up being successful. Uh, my dad actually was hunting in an area, and he was hunting a different species from a lot of these people, but they were having a ton of success hunting a way that like we would never think of. With hiking, I don't know, just doing that big backpacking trip. Um, where we camped were typically spots that I would not have camped, but they all ended up like I feel like I tend to get a little hard-headed in that, and which a lot of times it works and sometimes it doesn't matter, but it's I guess there's just not one way to do things in the outdoors, and like when you're going with other people, and like I was bringing my buddy Tanner, who's a new hunter, and you have to be flexible because you don't know how they're going to be able to handle new trips and the exertion from hunting. So you just gotta, I don't know, I need to be more open-minded with that stuff, just especially mostly when you're going with other people.
Right.
I mean that's when it matters. So that was kind of one of my big takeaways from the year.
Yeah. No, I think that's smart. Especially like, I feel like you get a lot of new experiences out of having that more open mind along with that,
Yeah.
And you can kind of apply those to other stuff. I feel like there's been a lot of outdoor things I've done that I've been like, that sounds stupid. And they do it. And you're like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next one for you.
Yeah, number 3, kind of along the same lines as what I said. Or I mean, not really, but like when people give you advice, probably that are older, smarter, they probably know something. Generally, they have that wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to be not a sunscreen guy.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Sunscreen's nice. It's like I didn't realize how much I was getting burnt every time I'd go out. You know, I just figured maybe a little red, whatever. But I started wearing sunscreen this year. Game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like not like going to bed and ow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my neck, this like
the worst.
Especially like I do, in the summer I do a lot of mountain biking up high, 11,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
You get burned.
Oh yeah.
In 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly you can get sunburnt.
Or you go on the water, cooked.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm sure some people follow that, but I was always kind of like you don't need sunscreen.
Yeah.
Like just get a little tan on and you're good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the classic. Like, oh, you just get sunburnt the first time and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, nowadays I basically, even if it's super hot, I'll just wear a sun hoodie because
yeah, sun hoodie's a big move.
Like you miss a spot sunscreen wise, or you have to reapply it.
Yeah.
And I mean, fishing, man, it just crushes you. You never realize because. Two things. I mean, number one,
and like UV eyewear too. Like, I mean, which most fishermen are gonna wear, but that you could burn your eyes.
Yeah,
yeah.
And like just looking, like if especially on a lake, it's a calm day, the sun's just bouncing off the water, hitting
wrecking you, dude.
Yeah, that's a good one. This is an interesting one. So this one is sometimes it's okay to stay home. Like this year, well, previously, so a couple of years ago, I was big on doing something every single Friday. Like I think there was like 75 weeks in a row that I either hunted or fished and consecutively, and it was like a thing of mine. I was like, I have to go. And I would get burnt out, and I'd find myself, going duck hunting a morning and just forcing myself to do it. Just do it. And then, by the end of the season, you're like, I don't really want to go. It's like sometimes if you stay home and do another thing and wait for the situation to be right, and it just makes, at least for me, I enjoy it more, and obviously helps the wife out.
Yeah.
Smooths things over at home.
Yeah, I think that's a good one too. Like, I definitely used to be that way. Like, way more, like, with biking and stuff, like, where it was like, go out, and eventually I think you just lose, when you make yourself go do things, you kind of start to lose the passion for it,
Yeah. For sure.
versus like when you're like, just take a couple weeks off,
Yeah.
or maybe, just do something else for a couple weeks. Like,
Yeah.
I'd be like, that was, and nowadays, like, I've found that the winter time, once it's like December, is a time to like just reflect,
Chill out. Yeah.
My mom used to say that trees grow their roots in the winter.
I mean, hey.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
I don't
sure
know
they
if it's
grow their
true.
roots all the time.
Yeah, but
that's a sick quote.
yeah.
And deep roots don't get bit by the frost.
Fact.
No, I think that's
Little chill time never hurts. I guess
Yeah.
is the whole thing.
Yeah, and it just makes you enjoy it more.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, for mine, I got another one that I've learned. Don't always just bring one like thing. Let's say we're going out with two people. 2 water filters is never not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Two things that you don't have to bring 2 cook kits all the time. 2 of this, but there's things that, sure, it's 6 ounces, 8 ounces. It's generally worth it. Like, this isn't necessarily from this year, but we had a trip bike packing where a water filter exploded. And if we had only brought one, we would have been SOL.
Toast.
So, like, stuff like that, I've just kind of applied that into my life. Wish I'd bring more than one tarp sometimes, but or more than one article of clothing. But it's nice to have 2 things.
Yeah.
A
little redundancy never hurt anybody.
Yeah. Like,
especially, like, I think especially if you're not, there's some people that are just into, like, they'll test their headlamp, 3 times before they go, and they'll, like, practice everything, and they're very, like, just super intense with their gear preparation. I'm not like that, it's more like, make sure it's there. Yeah. But if you're that way,
well,
it's good to have 2
a good example is I had a headlamp on my 4th season. Had a black diamond that I've used for 12 years. I don't know, forever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's so outdated. It needs to get a new one. But I was like, I'm going to just bring another one. Yeah. Just that one trip. And on that trip, that black diamond crapped out. Yeah. And I had 2 in my flat roll. I was like, like when we were hiking out in the dark, swapped it out. Yep. For my other one. Oh, yeah. And especially when it's cold like that, headlamp batteries, man. Well, it was like the headlamp just failed. I always bring, like, I always have like 3 sets of batteries for whatever. Yeah. I could probably be more prepared by, like, these batteries are brand new. I always have like a whole pack of AAAs. Yeah. And yeah, that headlamp just stopped working. And I was like, man, what the hell? Yeah. But 12 years, I feel like, is pretty reasonable for probably what was a $30 or $40 piece of gear. I mean, that's great. Yeah. Great lifespan. Yeah. Especially with headlamps. Like, I'm a cheap headlamp guy. I've never had like I just always buy like the Energizer bunny ones, but definitely got to be a little bit more cautious with the batteries there. You know what else, on a quick note? I didn't tell you though, but I got a Nemo sitting pad. Game changer. Is it one of the closed cell foam ones? Yeah. Yeah. They're clutch. Made it fits perfect in the back of the Talon. Yeah. That's not a double thing. That's just a quick note. That was might have been my best gear of the year. And then you put it in the sitting saddle, and you're freaking set. Yeah, it was epic, dude. Yeah. Epic. No, those things they're nice, especially when it's cold. Sitting on a cold rock. Or wet. Yeah, it's awful. Yeah. So I covered that one. No matter how prepped, don't be cocky. The next one is so I've been in
lots of situations where I take out new hunters. Mostly just friends. You know, Austin, he used to work here, took him out.
Yeah.
Before that, he's not a new hunter, but my buddy Riley, who's he came from out east, and my buddy Brian, you know, especially Brian, he had never elk hunted before.
Mm-hmm.
We had some other guys on that trip, Austin, and then my new buddy Tanner. And previously, what I had done is, you're trying to get people stoked about it. So you're like, oh man, hunting's so awesome, and it's great. And then you go out, and for me, it's unbelievable. I could not see anything for 5 days. It's more the experience, and I'm used to like all the hiking and the mental anguish that you can, and torment that you can be in when you're not seeing anything. So with my new buddy Tanner, I tried a different approach of like just being like, this is honestly, it's very hard. There's a good chance that we're not going to see anything. You know, we're going to hike. There's a good chance we're not going to kill anything. And at least so far for him, he's now like when I have to tell him like, hey, you know, let's go out. He knows that there's this expectation that it's not going to be super easy. Whereas previously, you make all these promises and you're like, oh man, there were so many ducks there. And then you go there the next day, there's nothing. And then they're like, well, what the heck? Like, is this me? Yeah. So I think it's a better strategy when like trying to take people out into the outdoors is just kind of under promising and letting the experience over deliver.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually going to change my last one to feed off of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's something we've talked about. But here's a good example. Yeah. First rifle went out with a newer hunter. He's hunted once for elk. And I was like, dude, I know this spot like back of my hand. We saw animals. I was like, I guarantee like first 48 hours something down.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And get up there and it's dead as could be.
Yeah.
Like they just all vanished. And I could see that being pretty disappointing, especially when it's your first backpack hunt.
Yeah.
You got 50, 60 pounds on your back,
mm-hmm.
water, gun, all that stuff, and you just put down 2,000, 2,500 foot of vert. And you're like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
You're sleeping in a tent. Yeah. So my thing that we've talked about, and I truly believe, a lot of people say positivity breeds your situation.
Yeah, like you got to manifest the positive.
You got to manifest it. And I do think that the manifestation can work at times. However, in my recent experience, having some realistic standards as well as even sometimes a negative outlook can be more productive.
Yeah.
And it's probably just a superstition, but, you know.
I think there's 100% something to it.
When you don't expect something to happen, I find that it happens more often.
It's weird.
If we go fish, we're like, dude, it's going to suck. And you like truly believe it's not going to be that good, it's usually a fire day.
Yeah.
But if you're like, dude, weather's perfect, it's going to be a beautiful streamer day, all this, we go out, all the fish went home.
Yeah.
We're tired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hiking in, I think you probably had a little more negative mindset on the hike into the deer.
Mm-hmm.
But like, even I was like, man, we aren't seeing much tracks. It's kind of snows a little out. Maybe we'll bump something. Boom, 2 beautiful deer.
Mm-hmm.
And then like for 4th season, when I took the same hunter I took out on 1st season, I was like, dude, I don't know.
Yeah, you were looking at the success rates.
We were looking at the success rates, everything. I'm like, dude, we're just going out there for fun.
Yeah.
Like, we ain't going to see shit. Like, there was 200 leftover tags on the leftover list. I was like, there ain't going to be nothing.
Yeah.
Boom. What do we see? What do we do first morning? Double up cow elk.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
it's almost uncanny. Like, it seems
it's weird.
It's not, I don't even think it's like you have to always be negative, but it's really what gets you in trouble is when you're feeling positive.
Overly positive, yeah. Like, dude, even the last time I went and fished the river, I was like, I don't know.
Not a great day.
It's probably, we're probably not going to catch much. 20 fish.
Yeah.
Just like, there's something about it.
Yeah.
There's something about it that just kind of, and it only works out in like a hunting and fishing thing. Because every time when I'm like, I'm so stoked to go mountain bike or moto, I have a great time. It's as expected. But when I'm like so pumped to go fish or hunt, it's trash.
Yeah. Well, I think part of that with like the other fun things that you're doing, you have a little bit more control over the outcome, right? Yeah. Like if you're mountain biking, you can be like, oh, let's go on this run because it's always fun.
Yeah.
Whereas like hunting and fishing, obviously it's all the other stuff is fun, but the success part is very reliant on luck.
There is luck.
I mean, like people talk about skill. There's so much of hunting that's luck.
Yeah. I think that the skillful things is like, oh, there's like if you're just going to pick a new unit, there's animals in this area.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it, kind of luck that you're going to get a good shot opportunity. Like if you're looking for, I need a perfect quartering away. I need all these things within 300 yards if you're rifle hunting, like, and I'm confident at that range. Like you need so many things to go right for that to happen that it can't be just a pure skill thing.
Yeah.
You can be skilled in multiple things. You can be in great shape. You can have a general idea about animals, but you know, even a biologist isn't going to be right every single time.
Yeah.
You know, like oh, animals should be here. They aren't.
Yeah.
There's a luck aspect on it.
Yeah. Steve Ranella has a quote that I just love, and he talks about having the mind of a pessimist and the legs of an optimist. I think that's great because it's like you do have to like you can't be pessimistic and be like, nah, I'm not going to go out today. You got to, when it really happens is when you're pessimistic, but you're like, well, I have to go out today.
I think also what that turns into is time in the field.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is like you more likely.
Yeah.
Which is increasing your luck, right?
Yeah.
The more times you hit a slot machine, the more likely you are statistically to hit a jackpot of the sort.
For sure. Yeah.
Versus if you never hit it.
Yeah. If you don't.
I guess my lesson there is, again, kind of that realistic.
Temper expectations.
Yeah. Just like not everything is princess and rainbows and unicorns. You know?
Yeah.
Like stuff can be, stuff's hard. And it's hard for a reason. And generally when you look back at those hard, fun times, they're the best memory. For me, at least.
Yeah. And the way I think of it, if you're taking somebody out, like a new fisherman, new hunter, or even like if you're just going out on a backpacking trip for the first time, like there's so much more, there's so many more positive outcomes for that person's experience if you do set the expectations lower than if you set them super high, because that, like, worst comes to worst, no matter what, they don't want to go back.
Yeah.
But if at least you said that this is going to be hard and, there are going to be parts of this that you don't enjoy, they know, so that they can prepare for that. Whereas like if you're like, oh, we're going to go there and we're going to get limits, it's going to be nonstop action.
Yeah.
And then it sucks. It's like, oh, well, I mean, first off, they probably think that you're BSing them. And then second off, it's like, that they might not go back anyway. So
yeah, I think, and not necessarily just being like pessimistic about it, but just like the realism that, dude, it's gonna hurt. Probably gonna be cold. It's probably gonna be this, but I think you will enjoy it.
Yeah.
Versus like, dude,
it's
not gonna be windy. Or I think the classic case for anybody that's a fisherman is like, yesterday it was fire. You had no idea. I caught 400 fish all over 40 inches. Just like and then you go there with your buddy and you're like, you bullshitting.
Yeah. That's the tough part, because no matter, you can have all the pictures in the world to show that person, but you're still like, was it actually that good?
Yeah.
It's crazy, even though it probably was, it's so weird. Yeah. I do feel like that is more the case with fishing.
Yeah.
That if it's good one day, it's not going to be good the next.
Well, and I think just general perspectives can be so different for each person.
Yeah.
Like we often talk about, again, with the fishing, like, man, it used to be so much better last year. So much better 2 years ago. But is it just because my standard for what's good has gotten better?
Could
Because
be.
I've had more good days?
That's a good point.
We're
Yeah.
getting down into the deep and gritty. Yeah, is it because I've had more good days before? Like, first rifle? Is it like, I've not been successful there multiple times, but I've also had insane days.
Yeah.
It's like, was it because, are we living in the good old days now? Yeah.
I think that's a valid point.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe. And
Are we going to look back, that was sick, and then we look,
also the human memory is just a fickle thing. I specifically remember it's one day that I was fishing around here. Like, the way I think about it in my head when I just first imagined this day was it was an unbelievable day.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. But then I think deeper about it, and this specific day, like the first half of it was super windy. I remember my buddy came with me, and he actually left because it was so windy. It was like the whole first half sucked. And then it seems like it was a good day, but I could have just caught like 4 fish, which, in certain places that would be like a slow day.
Yeah.
But because it was so bad the first half, it like got better, and it was like, oh, this is awesome. Like,
This
what?
is very true.
How do you put that into perspective?
It is all
It's like
perspective.
the memories they always are better than what you think,
Mm-hmm.
or worse.
Yeah, or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Socrates.
Yes.
No, that's good stuff. And I guess this one kind of plays off of that as well. But my next one is don't let past experiences determine your future
Outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of along those same lines. Like, don't think that just what you did and what worked this time is gonna work next time.
It's
Like,
true.
especially with fishing and hunting, when there's weather, there's just like a whole year. Like, you think about the life cycle of an elk, right? If you had all these elk in this one area
Yeah.
this year, I mean, they might go back to that same little meadow the next year, but there's also like so many places that they've gone in between 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like maybe they just decided to go up this next drainage and they found this whole other meadow.
Yeah.
But, you go back there that next year and there's nothing there, and you're like, what the heck happened?
To put it back into fishing, somebody could just be chucking worms in your favorite hole and
True.
eating all the fish.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
never know.
You never know. And like, yeah, I think it's more, I mean, the kind of the theme here is just being more open-minded.
Keep an open mind.
And
Yeah,
don't
I
be
was literally about
cocky.
to say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be cocky. Keep an open mind.
Which is
Yeah.
a good piece of advice.
That's the good ender right there. 10
is.
whole things we went over, and really all we had to say is don't be cocky.
Respect the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is all process.
Well, that was a good one. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great Christmas. I think we should be back after Christmas before the new year, but if not, we'll see you on the flip side in 2026. So, quick backstory for this interview, right? So this is kind of important. So, we have Cathy Tarr on the podcast. She runs the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation, which is basically a foundation that helps families of lost hikers find people, or at least cope with, having a missing family member. So essentially, some hiker goes missing on the PCT. There's usually X amount of time that search and rescue will go look for them. Beyond that time, when, it's highly likely that that person is considered deceased, that's when the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation steps in. They go to work trying to find as many clues as possible, trying to dial in where this person might be. They use drone. It's kind of interesting. We actually covered one of the cases that they were working on earlier this year when we were talking about that situation where there was a missing hiker. They hadn't found the remains. They used drones. Yep, to take all the pictures.
They helped with that, or
Yeah. That was
In
like one of their
Europe,
cases. I think that one was like Mount Whitney or something like that.
Oh.
Maybe there was one in, or
I
maybe
think there was one in like Italy or Europe. Yeah.
you're right. That one was in Italy. So maybe it was a different one because she was telling me on the podcast about how they I think it was Mount Whitney. Maybe they basically circled the mountain and took all these photos and were able to find but the same thing did happen in Italy. Either way, we had a situation this last summer where a sheriff, and this is how we found this foundation, a cold case detective from the San Diego County Sheriff's Office reached out to us, and we're actually going to have him on the podcast for the next episode to talk a little bit more about this. But we basically, the sheriff asked us if. So essentially, there was a John Doe that was found on the PCT. So somebody that could not be identified, that had been missing for a long time. Nobody knew who he was, but he had all this super nice gear that he was wearing, and one of those items was one of our backpacks. So he sent us a picture of the backpack, and he asked for a list of the customers that had purchased this pack. Well, long story short, we were able to help identify this guy, and we don't know the name. The family of this John Doe does not want the name released, so we're very respectful of that. But from this list, we were able to help find the person. Now, kind of one of the things that helped us dial it in was a Facebook post from this Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation with some of the brands and some of the extra information on this missing persons case that we were then able to apply.
So they reached out to like all the brands or places he may have purchased the gear to try and find his name.
Yep. And I think they were cross-referencing it with like some of the permits that were pulled on the PCT and stuff like that. So, but anyway, it kind of like, you hear things on the news, but when I found this Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation, I just had no idea how many hikers go missing and are not found on some of these thru hikes. And like with this guy, it was very surprising because, he had a lot of expensive gear. We know gear people, right? Like we are them. We like to talk to people about our gear, especially on the PCT. You'd think that this guy would be chatting with everybody, being like, yeah, check out, this gear. And I mean, that's probably what I would do, if you're camping with all these guys, but he's not able to be identified until, we kind of helped them dial it in. But it just opened up this can of worms on how many hikers go missing. And this foundation does a lot of you can get, you can sign up. They sell like refurbished Garmins. They sell these beacons that if you do go missing and you don't have a Garmin or something like that, helicopters can help. It basically sends out a radio signal, and helicopters can ping off of that. So they do a lot of work on the front end trying to make sure that people don't get into those situations, but they also help families afterwards. So it's very, I don't know, it was kind of cool, something that I just didn't know the scope of.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're going to have Cathy to talk about, more of the missing hiker side, and then also the detective on to talk a little bit about, what the process looks like when somebody does go missing in the woods. Because, I think there's a lot more logistics. I mean, you think about evidence, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you can just, and there's chain of command that you have to, chain of custody that you have to account for. And when you're hiking something out, a piece of evidence out of the backpack or out of the backcountry, like how does that work? So that's why we're going to have him on the podcast. So,
it's a lot of logistics. And then I feel like it's something that even if you don't really venture into the backcountry, like you can get lost pretty easy, you know, and things can happen not too far from the car. And it's just kind of nice to know those foundations that are trying to help people. The first time I've heard of it, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, without further ado, Merry Christmas, and here's Cathy Tarr from the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Seek Outside podcast. Today we have an awesome guest on, a special guest that kind of just happened to, like, I had no idea about the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation until we had a very specific situation come about through Seek Outside. And I'll go into it after you kind of do an introduction here, but I'm glad we found your organization. I think this is going to be a fun podcast. So we have Cathy Tarr from the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation, and I'll let you give just a quick intro of kind of who you are and what you do there.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having us on. So basically, my name is Cathy Tarr, and I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation. The Fowler is Chris Fowler, who went missing in 2016 while hiking the Pacific Crest Trail from the White Pass area in Washington. The O'Sullivan is David O'Sullivan, who went missing in 2017, also a PCT hiker who went missing after leaving a mountain town of Idlewild in Southern California. So we put those two names together after two PCT missing hikers. Neither have been located after all these years and after all the searches and trying to find them, just no clues that all have been found. But that's how we got together, how we formed a nonprofit. And now what we do is we search for other missing hikers, not specifically just the PCT, but sometimes families will call us and say, you know, my son went missing, or my husband or daughter, and can you help us? So we have different things. We have the search efforts that we could do if we decide to take a case. We also have hiker safety programs where we give away Garmin InReaches, for instance, which are SOS devices. If you're hurt, you hit a button and they have your location and they'll come and save you, basically. We have a microspike ice axe program and a refurnishing satellite communicator program. And we just started a new program for the Reco reflector tag, I guess is what you would call it, that you can put on your backpack. And so if a family member calls and says, my daughter is hiking the Continental Trail and we have not heard from her, and she has a Reco reflector tag on her backpack, then the closest organization that has the helicopter unit, other Reco unit, will send it out and try to reflect off of that to find her. Definitely not a replacement for satellite communication, which you can just hit a button and get immediate location. And you can also say what's wrong. I have a broken leg, or I'm having a heart attack. So we have that section. And we also have the peer support group. And that's where the families come together. We only search for missing hikers, not hunters or skiers, only hikers. So when the families do come together, they are coming together with people who unfortunately has gone through the same experience, and they help each other out. That's once a month, virtual. And that's pretty much what we do. We're just basically here for the hiker community.
Yeah. So just one thing on that. So that Reco tag, is that, like you said, that a helicopter goes up and tries to reflect off of it? Is that like a UV light thing, or is it just that you have much better chances of seeing the reflection from up high? Or is it something that the helicopters also have to like reflect off of the tag?
Right. So it's actually some type of unit. Honestly, I've not seen one yet. I'm hoping to get down to Riverside County to get an idea of what this is. In Southern California, they recently, within the last few months, have acquired one of them. And so it actually hangs out of the helicopter, and it will actually ping off of this tag. So it's not like a visual ping. It's a ping that will come back to them to say there's a Reco tag there. And then they will go to that area and, search it out to see if that's where the missing hikers are.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So a little backstory here for people that are listening. So a couple of months ago, I guess, we actually got an email from the sheriff's office in San Diego County, and they sent us basically a picture of a backpack that was one of our backpacks that had been on a hiker who was a John Doe, somebody that had not been identified. They were not identified for, it seemed like a while. And they were kind of looking at all the gear and stuff like that. And in our research, trying to kind of get some information to the sheriff that was working on the cold case, the detective, who was actually going to be on a podcast up and coming here. We got the okay for him to chat with us. But we were kind of looking at some Facebook posts, trying to get any other information on this pack. And that's how we came across the Facebook post from the FO Foundation about this gentleman, because he had a bunch of like unique gear on that, some people typically don't have. And we were lucky enough that the pack that he got from us was on a small enough list that it ended up being like, I don't know, under 20 people. So we sent it to the sheriff, and they were able to identify the person from that list, which was good. And hopefully it brought some closure to the family. But for me, it like opened up a can of worms, because I went onto your guys' website and I saw the kind of the backstory of how you guys started, and then I clicked on the open cases, and there was way too many, right, of people that have gone missing and haven't been found on the PCT and other trails. And it kind of was, I don't know, it was just a little shocking to me, especially after doing some Googling, that it's like every year multiple people go missing on these trails. And it was just a lot more than I was expected. So I'm glad that you guys are out doing what you're doing, and I'm glad that we could get you on the podcast.
Well, concerning the remains that were found 40 miles north of the southern terminus along the PCT in a mountain town called Mount Laguna. So we had heard about a hiker who was found June of 2024. The coroner's office reported that the remains were there most likely about 2 months, which put you in the prime season for the PCT hiker. So we knew it was a PCT hiker. And we originally was looking into it. We asked PCT hikers, if they knew anything about it. But we kind of walked away from it because we were told that there was a plate in his clavicle area, and 99 times out of 100, there's a serial number on there that will tell you who that is. Mm-hmm. But the detective that reached out to us explained there was only a model number. So they were not able to identify him through that. And so it was quite a long time. It was maybe 6-8 months later when Detective Gibson from the San Diego County Cold Case Unit called and asked about our cases. And at that time, I asked him, I said, are you talking about the remains of Mount Laguna? And he says, yes. The interesting thing about that is that he had no idea about the hiker culture, the PCT culture, or anything about the hiker community.
Yeah.
Now, the information about these remains was put on a site called NamUs, and that is for missing people that are missing or unidentified remains, and they put information in there. So we were able to find this case on NamUs, and we were able to see some of the clothing he was wearing when he was found and everything. And it was all high-end.
Yeah.
High-end clothing, $100, hundreds of dollars for the shoes, the tent, the pants, you name it. This person spent a lot of money. And so when he reached out to me, I said, well, what I can do for you is I will create an email for you and show you different ways that I think you could find out who this is. And so I explained to him the PCT permit system. Most hikers will have that permit. So there's one place where his name could be. He was found near Mount Laguna, which has lodges. He could have stayed in a lodge because this guy must have had money.
Yeah.
This equipment. So I said his name might be there. And I said, you should take you should look at even the snacks that he had were unique. And I think that's how they came to you. I believe it was the tent, maybe.
The
And
backpack, yep.
backpack.
Yep.
So I said, look at these. A lot of the things he had were high end and not the norm for a hiker. And so I felt like you could put that name in 3 different places. And that's when he reached out to you and you gave him that short list, which must have connected with a permit or something in that way that he was able to identify him. He actually, after speaking with you, knew who it was. But they can't really say anything until they get DNA results.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but he was so sure they actually contacted his father.
Yeah.
And I guess they were estranged, and that's why there's no missing hiker report, no missing person report. And so that's why, we just didn't know who he was. But being that these remains were a hiker, we were very much involved. We very much wanted him to be identified.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, there was no wallet. There was no ID found.
Yeah.
And so that was suspicious to me. Although, Detective Gibson doesn't believe it was foul play, but if you're hiking, you usually have your permit with you with your name on it. You usually have an ATM or credit cards, which are lighter than carry, money and things that people don't usually do. But nothing.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Like, did someone come across him and take that and just not report the remains? I don't know. But it'll be interesting. I know you have a talk coming up with Detective Gibson, and that'll be an interesting podcast for your listeners to hear about these remains and how he actually did identify them. The family at this time has asked that his name not be released, so we don't have a name.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, his remains were identified through the process of, the email I sent him and through you and Seek Outside. And so it teamwork, and he was identified. So I was very happy. I mean, that must be an interesting job as a cold case detective when you can actually solve a case. I mean, that's got to be very rewarding.
Yeah.
So, but he did reach out and thank me, for all the help because he had no idea about the hiking community. And so he too found us on the website and was able to reach out to us. So we were definitely there for that hiker.
Yeah. No, it was great. And I'm curious to talk to him too, just about, because looking at that Facebook post that you guys had made about some of the gear that they found, and this happens across the board, but I think I don't even know how the foul play thing came up there. I remember seeing a comment about how there was a gun there, and I don't know what is true, what's not. But I do think even if there's no factual basis that there was any foul play involved there, people on Facebook, people on the internet, if there's any similar stories where, as soon as that foul play is entered, everybody's got an opinion. And everybody, especially with the rise of the true crime podcasts, it's very intriguing. I don't want to say fun, but it's like people want to get involved, right? They want to. It's a mystery. And I can imagine that being difficult.
Yeah, they always have their opinions. That's true. And you're right. There actually was a gun that was found underneath the remains. And so was it suicide? This I don't know. I don't know anything about it. They were not able to, how do you say it? Like, trace that gun back to him.
Mm-hmm.
It actually went back to somebody in Pennsylvania, but they said it was a dead end. So I think the only way that could be a dead end is if it was stolen, maybe. I don't know how that could be a dead end because the gun was registered to somebody. And so Detective Gibson could help you on that. But the gun was underneath the person, which is unusual as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you are going to commit suicide, men, for instance, usually will shoot themselves in the head. Women, not so much, but men do. And so normally when you pull that trigger, it pushes your hand away. and the gun doesn't land under you.
Mhm.
So, and again, this is just my opinion. As you're saying, people have opinions, but normally that doesn't happen. And so now you have a gun. Maybe it was suicide. Maybe it's foul play. I don't know. But I do know for a fact that you can hike the PCT without a credit card or an ATM, or, you can hike it without a PCT permit, but 99% of the hikers do get that permit and get a specific date that they actually start their hike. So usually you'll have that as identification. Just last year when Robert Brzezinski was found by two hikers, they knew that there was a missing hiker out there, and they looked through his backpack and there was his identification, there was his permit. So
Yeah.
identification, but there wasn't any. So I think Detective Gibson can clue you in when you talk to him as to what his thoughts are, but he does not consider it foul play.
Yeah. I also, just one more thing on this case, I thought it was very interesting that, because it took a while for him to be identified. You would think, I get that he was estranged from the family, but, somebody that has that much high-end gear, you would think that there would be a little bit higher profile on, there's probably people walking down the trail and they're like, oh, this guy's got a Dyneema tent, or, oh, this guy's got this fancy backpack. It's just, and, you would think that there would be conversations about that. And I know gear people a lot, just working at Seek Outside. We all love to talk about our gear. It's a good conversation starter, right?
Right.
So I thought obviously the gun makes it very interesting. The hip plate, it just happened to not have a serial number on it, which is crazy. And then also just that nobody had like any knowledge of who this man was. And the wallet being gone is very suspicious, but I mean, I guess it would make sense if somebody, especially, if they were on the last month of their through hike and their wallet was not as fat as they had hoped and they needed to get to the next town, maybe they picked his up and used it. I don't know. It's a very interesting case that you would think that it would for sure be foul play involved, but clearly sounds like it's not.
It's definitely an intriguing story.
Yeah.
Definitely. You're right. I mean, hikers do check out each other's gear and they discuss it like, hey, how do you like that backpack? How do you like those trekking poles? Things like that. They do discuss gear on trail for sure. But remember, he was found only 40 miles from the start. And so he may have and could have been hiking on his own and just didn't bother with other people, and no one really noticed him for some reason. Because only 40 miles in, you're only talking 2, 3, no more than 4 days that he would have been there on the trail. I mean, depending on his fitness level. So 2 to 4 days, how many people did he see on the trail? Did he interact with them? We actually had a picture of the jacket that he was wearing, and we put that on the Facebook page, and people sent us pictures of hikers wearing that jacket. And some of them were too far up the trail. I'm like, no, this is within 40 miles of the start. So we did try to identify him, but we really did just kind of walk away when we heard about the plate and thought he'd be identified. So I was surprised to get the call from Detective Gibson. But we are extremely happy we were able to help.
Yeah. So what's the search and rescue look like on like a through hike area? And so say, you have a circumstance where somebody is expected to be in a place, they don't check in, somebody calls in, say, hey, they're missing. What does that time frame look like to get people? I mean, I assume you're probably calling multiple different search and rescue areas because it could be this town or it could be this town. But what's that process look like? What's your guys' first step, I guess, when somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, this person's missing?
Right. So first, when a family calls in, what they do is they normally will look at what county did they last see them in, and they'll contact the county sheriff's office. So dial 911, which will give them the county sheriff's office. Sheriff will at that point reach out to search and rescue. So search and rescue and search and rescue in that county knows that area very well. They know where problems have happened in the past, and they take their expertise of their area. They get together and they go out to try to find the person. Many, many times it's just an overdue hiker that just didn't check in or something, and that's the best case scenario. In other cases, they'll do what's called a hasty search, and they'll go up the trail or down the trail yelling out a name to see if they get a response. Or they might come across the hiker that broke their leg, right off the side of the trail, and, they'll help them. The problem comes in is when they use all their resources and don't find the person. That's when the problem comes in. And the length of the search at Search and Rescue does usually, most of the time, will be dependent on weather. So if they deem that the hiker could not have survived a certain night that was way below freezing, they may get called off because they're search and rescue, not search and recovery. And so they may get called off. And that's where there is that missing link right there, because they go to the family and they say, we're so sorry. I mean, these are people who really care and really want to find these hikers. So they go to the family and I'm so sorry, we could not find your missing daughter or whatever, and we've been called off. So now what does the family do? And that's where we come in. So, I mean, if you go, and Google missing hikers help or something, most likely our foundation will come up. And then we get a phone call saying search and rescue has ended their search and we don't know what to do. And that's exactly right. They don't know what to do. And a lot of times you have one hiker in a family. So the whole families aren't hikers. They don't even know how to read maps. They wouldn't know how to track themselves if they did go out and search. And we highly recommend families not searching for their missing loved one, because sometimes you just can't unsee things. And if they did come across, their loved one out there in the wilderness, that would just be horrible. So we'll talk to the family. We'll first take care of them, mentally. We'll talk, how are you doing? Are you getting sleep? Are you eating? Things like that. What do you need from us? If they want us to search, we'll look at the case. Where was the last known position? What was he wearing? She, and then we get together and decide, are we going to take the case or not? We don't take every case, but if we decide we're going to take the case, then contact the family and we'll start our CalTopo maps. We'll reach out to try to get a sheriff's police report, try to get the tracks that SAR had put down. Those are very helpful. Most counties are okay with that, but then sometimes you get into a county that doesn't want to release any of that. So you're starting at ground zero. You're probably searching in areas that have already been searched, but you have no other way to go about it. And so as search and recovery, we have more time than search and rescue does. Search and rescue has to grab their backpacks and get out there to try to save someone's life. And they will risk their lives trying to do that. But in search and recovery, we have time to talk to hikers who hiked with the person before to try to find out their habits, their hiking habits, family members, find out what type of equipment the person has. This is stuff that sometimes search and rescue doesn't have the time for that. Then we need to start looking at maps. I always love to try to find somebody who knows the area well. Someone who's been out there many times. And so we'll do that. And then after we do all the research, then we decide we're going to go out and we will search. We'll already have it searched. And then if it's an area that we can fly drones, and it's a drone-friendly area, we will do that. We have found missing hikers using that drone system. We have image viewers that spend hundreds of hours reviewing drone images, and we found missing hikers using that system. And, when we find someone, we reach out to the family, and then we call 911. And because for us, it's all about the family.
Yeah.
And so we take care of them and make sure they're okay. And anything's going on, we let them know what's going on.
Yeah. You mentioned in there that there are like sometimes counties that don't want to release their information on a case. Why would that be?
You'd have to ask them. I don't know why it wouldn't be, why one county would and one county would not. They will say, and this has happened in a case that I was involved in before I started this nonprofit, and that was John Sturkey, once again in the Santa Ana Mountains in Southern California. And there was a search and rescue mission that went on. Dogs were brought out, helicopters, everything. They couldn't find them. And so the family got together. They contacted me, and we actually had 60 volunteers come out. And his wife and I spent many days out there searching for him. And so we found a clue. And once we found that clue, we turned it into the sheriff's office. And in turn, they sent search and rescue back. So we don't even have to find the actual missing hiker. We just have to find clues of where he could be or which direction he went. And in this case, it was a directional thing that we found. And so search and rescue came back out, and that day they found him. That's a win.
Nice.
Yeah. For us, we don't care who finds the missing hiker, because as soon as that hiker is found, we can move on to our other cases. And the family gets the answers that they do, but they do not want. Want to hear, but they don't want to hear. So it's a very difficult situation for the families who they kind of know something happened, but they don't know what happened. The person's not there, but they don't know where the person's at. It's a very difficult situation for the families.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. But you are getting closure. At least you're not continuing to think that they're going to be coming back, or, that they're going to be popping out one day. And it's good to, get a final answer on that.
Yeah.
So, like, I can't imagine that foul play. I would assume that most of the cases that you deal with are, people getting lost, accidents happening, heart attacks, stuff like that, things that are a little bit, more natural causes, right? Have you guys, seems like you guys may have dealt with foul play. I mean, one of the reasons why the sheriff reached out to us was there was that question, and there's no for sure answer there, but what have those cases looked like? And like, is that something where you're kind of like almost not battling, but trying to find this person while also trying to stay clear of, kind of the sheriffs and what investigations they're doing?
Well, if it's an active investigation, if they're actively investigating a case, we don't even come in. We don't come in unless they say they're calling out the search. And if it is active and there's something that we have, maybe a resource or something that can help them, we would love to work with them. But we never kind of go behind someone's back to try to get in there to find someone. We either work with them or wait till it's called off and proceed there for the family, is why we do it. Definitely. But I would say you're absolutely right that most times when hikers go missing, it is a hiker related incident, like that got lost or got hurt or fell. There's so many missing hikers this year, which is really mind-boggling for me. I mean, there's so much out there to help these hikers save themselves. And yet, I guess they just feel invincible, like nothing will ever happen. And then when something does happen, they don't have the equipment to help them. Even if you had a Garmin inReach and you died instantly, if it's turned on, they can ping you and they can still find you. And that actually happened this year. A gentleman was found through pinging the Garmin. So you're right. Foul play, honestly, if we come into a case and then all of a sudden we're like, this is foul play, we normally will back away.
Yeah.
That's a police investigation that we don't need to be involved in.
Yeah. So You did bring up an interesting point, though, because and I think we've actually talked about on this podcast, and maybe it was one of the cases that you guys were involved in, but there was a case, I think here in Colorado or maybe Washington, where they used drones and circled the mountain like 4 or 5 times, got all the pictures, and were able to find the people. And but I do think there is something to that where, like, there was a case here in Colorado where a couple guys from New York were driving down I-70, here, the big one that goes through all the mountains by all the ski resorts, and they decided with very little experience to go hike up a 14er. And, they ended up, it was a crazy scenario because they got lost. They were on the phone with the search and rescue people. Search and rescue led them up to a spot where they could probably get picked up by a helicopter. And then there was a big thunderstorm that came through, and they actually got hit by lightning. But I guess the point is, I think with all the, you got your satellite messaging on your phone now. You have downloadable maps, whether it's onX or Gaia or even Google Maps now, Google Earth. I do think there is something to that where you're like, what is it? And I think you see stuff on social media too, that you see everybody posting pictures in these places like Hanging Lake, right here in Colorado. It's a very famous spot. It's a steep hike to get up there, but people want to take their pictures there. And I think it's just all those factors lead to people being a little bit too confident with their abilities. And I guess the question is, what are your thoughts on how we can change that? Because every search and rescue operation, it's like $4,000 an hour or something like that for like helicopter. And I think I remember seeing that stat. It's like crazy expensive. So we gotta get to a point where, people are more educated going into the field.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell, is education. And so you brought up the iPhone a couple times here in our conversation. And most recently, a friend of mine went hiking, and he was going to message his girlfriend each day using that iPhone. Even though he had a Garmin InReach at home, he decided to leave it at home. So he went out and he messaged her, and everything's fine. But then all of a sudden, he can't get messages out anymore. And so 3 days went by, and she was a mess. Like, something happened, something must have happened. Should I call 911? I don't know what to do. And actually, when a family does get to the point, there's been a lot going on before they dial 911. Mm-hmm. Because once you make that call, now it's real. Now it's a real situation. So they hesitate, which is totally normal because, well, maybe he'll call in the next hour or so. So I haven't seen, and maybe you have, but I have not seen enough data to say that iPhones will work just as well. They do work off of a different satellite than the Garmin InReach does. I do know that the Garmin InReach works very well. I've used it myself. So I do know it works very well in the wilderness. The iPhones, yes, have come out and they have this, and they're, great in some ways, but I don't know the data yet in thick wilderness and things like that, whether they're going to work just as well as the Garmin InReach. And you may have more information on that. I just haven't seen that data yet. So I hesitate to say you're fine going out with just that iPhone. So maybe, the Record reflector, if you don't want to spend a lot of money on a Garmin InReach, the reflector is like $37. And you just throw it on the back of your backpack. And so, again, I went off base again. I'm sorry.
No, that was it there. Okay. I was more just saying, I think, I do think it's gotten to a point. And my point with the iPhone is, you're right. It's not, I don't think it is as good as the Garmin. And at the very least, 'cause I use primarily the iPhone now. I actually have a Spot that I take with me all the time, and the iPhone has worked great for me. It's speedy, it's fast, but the Garmin InReach and the Spots and even the Zolios, like the predetermined two-way messenger sat things, they are built to be out in the elements, which an iPhone, unless you have some crazy OtterBox, is not. And I think if you're also relying on that iPhone for like your maps as well, I mean, you're putting all your eggs in this one basket.
Right.
But I think that's the problem though, is these functions are available. And so people are like, oh, I have the phone. Oh, I have service everywhere. Now I'll be fine. And that's what gets them in trouble. Because then, you know, especially if you're not from an area, like I'm very confident in the mountains out here. If I were to go to the Appalachians, it would probably be a whole different ballgame, right? The hardwood forests. I'm not like here. I know I can walk. I find landmarks. You walk around in some of those eastern hardwoods, it's a totally different ballgame because it all looks very similar. So I guess, you know, I think it's more just all this technology has led to overconfidence in reliance on that stuff. When stuff hits the fan, you don't have your technology. Your phone falls in a river, you're toast. Falls down a cliff and smashes on a rock, toast.
Yeah.
And there goes all your one thing that you were relying on. So I think that's a good point. Having the Garmin, having multiple fallback options is so imperative for anybody that's going to be going on a hard, especially through hike. You know, if you're going to be out for 3 months, you can't rely on your iPhone. I mean, that's just, you're putting way too much stock into that, I think.
Right. And the PCT is 5 to 6 months to complete it on average. And there are some zones that have no Wi-Fi at all. And so sometimes a family will call and we'll explain that from here to here, you know, it'll be a couple of days, but there's no Wi-Fi in between these two areas. So yeah, there's a lot of areas without any Wi-Fi. With the Garmin InReach, I mean, even if you're not thinking about yourself, like, hey, nothing's ever going to happen. You know, I always tell people, you know, get it for your family because you can communicate with them. And actually, you get an app on your phone, so you're not using the actual unit to try to text. You're actually using your actual phone to text. And you're like, hey, everything went well, you know, whatever. And I will contact you every 3 days or something. So it gives them a heads up when they don't hear anything. And most of the time, all you have to do is go on, like, for instance, a PCT Facebook pages and say, hey, my husband was supposed to check in and it's been way too long. I'm really worried about him. Put on a picture, and within an hour or two, you're going to find out where he's at. And so that's what we did last year for 2 different hikers. And the first one we put out, he was found within an hour. They're like, yeah, he's over here. And then the second one was Robert Pazinski, and it was crickets. And at that point, we knew something happened to him. There's no way somebody like Robert Pazinski is going to be going up the PCT and people don't notice him. So we knew, okay, something happened to him. Where's his last location? Idlewild, California. Okay, let's start looking for him. So that's basically what we do. But hiker safety, like you said, yeah, absolutely. I don't know how to get the word out. We're going to be doing like a lot more as far as talking, more podcasts, more interviews, things like that to try to get the word out about hiker safety. It's just not worth it. Like, people will say, oh, the Garmin InReach is so expensive. And actually, they just came out with the Garmin InReach Mini 3 and the Garmin InReach Mini 2 you can get at a very good price, and they're very, very good units. And there is a subscription to it. But man, if you're out there and, you know, and something happens and you have to spend the night, it's a scary place out there. It is really scary. And then you don't know how cold is it going to get. What do you have? Some day hikers don't even have a backpack. And so they have nothing. So they'll try to put dry leaves, if they have dry leaves, and whatever they can over them, try to get up against a downed tree. They'll do what they can to try to stay warm, but it is quite scary out there. Every noise you hear, you don't even sleep through the night because you're just so scared. And so that can all be just, you don't even need that to happen. You know, and you have a worried family at home, worried sick, and they're not sleeping either. When all you needed was a spot, a Zolio, Garmin InReach, to say, I'm okay, but I'm lost. And then that's what happens is when that goes out that you're lost or hurt, they get your coordinates. So now search and rescue is not searching for you; they're going to you, going to that coordinate. So that gives them the opportunity to get to you as fast as possible. It's not going to be within an hour. I mean, these guys have to get together. They have to, have their plan. They have to get up there. So either way, you're going to be there for a while, but you may not have to spend the night, and you may survive. That's the most important thing. So when search and rescue gets a call and they have a coordinate, imagine the difference between that and we have someone overdue. We don't know last location, but it was supposed to come out here. The car sit in the parking lot, never returned, and now they have to search for you. And maybe it's nighttime by now. That's a very difficult situation. So yes, they can go up the trail and yell out your name, and hopefully you're right there and can help you. But if not, if you're unconscious, they're not going to find you. It's going to be very difficult if you're far off trail. So you just have to make it easy for search and rescue to find you, even if you have nothing and there's a helicopter above you. Many times, people say the helicopter didn't see them. Well, you have to help yourself. You can't just stand there because they're not going to see you. You have to get in a position of an angel on the ground, like if you do in snow. You have to, even if it's throwing sand in the air or snow in the air, or taking something and putting it at the end of your hiking pole and waving it around, you have to make that movement so they can spot you. There's many, many stories about how people were found using those methods. Otherwise, it may just fly over you and you're never found. And sometimes you only have a few hours before you perish, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I've taken a couple rides in like a Super Cub, like a little small 2-seater plane. And, you fly, I could imagine it's probably similar to flying over in a helicopter in a search. Obviously, you're going a little bit faster. But it is shocking. Like we were doing it up in Alaska, and there was I don't know how high we were flying above the ground, but it seemed like in that terrain, you'd be able to see everything, right? Especially being that close and you're going like 80 miles an hour. And there were multiple times where there would be a moose that, we should have been able to see for a long ways, right? They're big, huge animals, but you don't see them until you get like literally right over them, just because the lay of the land, and there's little nooks and crannies, and it's, if they're not moving, right, your eye's always looking for moving. So that's a good point. I mean, obviously the signal fire is kind of the classic, but it's not like a lot of people are just carrying a lighter and tinder with them. Right. But I guess that's maybe a good question. Is there, if you had to build out a kit that, even if you're just day hiking, to survive and kind of withstand the worst case scenario, what are some of the items that you would recommend people just always keep in their pack?
Well, definitely something to create a fire. I mean, obviously, that's one. Always having more water than you think you're going to need. You can go 3 days without water. You can go 3 weeks without food. You need to have a water source. So you always need to have more water than you think you need. You need shelter. So even if it's not a tent, because you just have a day pack, they have, what do they call those blankets? The emergency blanket, I think they call it.
Mylar.
Yeah. Having something like that to put around you, something to keep you warm. I always carry a puppy at the bottom of my day pack because I don't like cold. So, if I end up having to spend a night, I want to have something to keep me warm. And the puppies will crunch down real small, but they keep you really warm. Sometimes extra clothing. If it's even 40 degrees and you get wet and you have to spend the night, that's classic hypothermia. Yeah. And most likely you will die. It doesn't have to be freezing before you die of hypothermia. So there's so many things that can happen out there. And they do have what's called the 10 essentials. And so there's a list of those that people can look up. the 10 essentials you should have with you all the time. But definitely want to have something to build a fire. On the John Donovan story that I had mentioned earlier, and the two people that came up against his tent did use matches to create a fire, and the helicopters were looking for them, and they said they were going nowhere near that area. So without that fire, they never would have been found, which I've always questioned. Why did John Donovan use them to create smoke? I don't know what was going through his mind. But they were rescued because they started that fire, created the smoke.
Yeah.
And also watching YouTube videos, there's actually ways to create more smoke, and by doing it differently. You want as much smoke as possible when you're trying to get rescued, and there's helicopters in the air.
Yeah.
So yeah, and anyone can look up the 10 essentials.
It's always mind blowing to me. I was on a backpacking trip this last summer, and we were 5 miles up into this lake, and it was steep getting up there. And 5 miles, I mean, it's a tough day hike. That's a big day. You're going to be out there all day. But there was these two people that got up there. It was a lady and her boyfriend, and they were young, probably in fit, good shape, but they didn't even have a backpack with them. They had one Nalgene that they were splitting between them. They were kind of talking to him, and I was baffled that, like, I always, anytime I take a day pack, I have like a 2,300 cubic inch little day pack that I always take, because it's always like, you know what, I don't care. Yeah, a puffy jacket, it's an extra 5 ounces, whatever, right. 10 ounces, whatever it is. But to me, it's worth it. And especially the water thing. Like I get pretty useless when I get dehydrated. That's, I drink way more water than I probably should, or than you probably need to. But it's just so baffling that people don't, like, I don't care how fit you think you are. If you break your ankle up there and you have to crawl back 5 miles, that's probably you're going to be overnight, and it's summer in the Rockies, gets cold.
Yeah.
So it's shocking that people, I don't know, maybe I was just raised by people that hike a lot, and you kind of know that. Right. Maybe if you grow up in the city and you're not raised close to the mountains, and you just decide to go for a hike one day, it's not going to enter your mind at all to have all these extras. But I think it's so essential.
Yeah, I mean, I see it all the time on trails. Yeah, I see people that are way underprepared. Yeah. Some of them may be just a lack of education. Others may be overconfident. You never know why, but I see it all the time. I've seen people struggling, and they have hardly any water, and I explain to them, you need to turn around, like, you're not going to make it. And so because of what I do, I'm always aware of hikers that I pass on a trail. I'm always looking, do they have water? I'm always looking to make sure they're going to be okay. There's actually a case going on right now as we're speaking of a young man who went missing hiking Mount Whitney. And he was wearing Nike shoes, and it's the wintertime. And hikers came across him, and one woman talked to him for like 30 minutes, trying to convince him to turn around. This is Mount Whitney, So please turn around. You're not equipped. You don't have the right equipment, the right boots or anything. And he said, I'll be fine. And he celebrated his 21st birthday. And so he wasn't fine. He never returned. And what happened was hikers on the trail started reporting seeing a body. And the body is down a 600 to 800 feet like type slope. But unfortunately, a storm had come through, so search and rescue couldn't get out right away. And so by the time they were able to get out, an avalanche has covered him. So there are groups that are going to try to find him. It won't be us. We can't, it's hard enough to find someone above snow, let alone under snow. And that's a case where he will be found. Super sad case for the family. He just turned 21. He had his whole life ahead of him. And so he will be found. It may be summertime when the snow melts, or maybe before the next storm, a group can find them. But that's a case where this hiker is going to be found because there was some visual on him before the avalanche. So that family, I hate to say that family is they're more lucky or than the other families have a missing hiker. We have no idea where they're at. This young man is going to be found. It's just a matter of time. Where other hikers may never be found, and people may die not having the answers that they would like to have, so it's hard to say they're lucky in any way, but they're going through it, and so we just make sure, are you sleeping, are you eating, and just try to, convince them that you need rest, you need to eat, and we get them on the peer support group so that other people can help them as well. It's a lot when you're talking to someone who that went through exactly what you're going through. So that's so important for me to create that peer support group. So I don't attend it, but I have some amazing people who are facilitators, and sometimes I get emails thanking me because they had a good session or something. So that meant a lot to me personally to get these people together to help each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a very unique situation, just especially if there was a search. I mean, that's got to be just such a traumatic thing to go through. I want to kind of, I guess, not switch gears. It's kind of along the same lines, but have you ever had any cases where somebody was reporting missing and they were found, but they, were basically just trying to get out of town and essentially start a new life?
Mm-hmm. So to date, I say the answer is no, because the people we are still looking for are still missing. In cases of, like, let's say David O'Sullivan, for instance, when he went missing, his bank account, none of the money's been, spent. There are signs that people are really missing. He was going to meet somebody, when he got to Kenny Meadows South, I believe he was going to go meet another friend. He's from Ireland, and he was going to go meet an Irish fellow that he knew growing up. And that's when things went like, where's David? And he never showed up. And the family was really worried, and so they checked his bank account, things like that. So we know David didn't just walk away. He sent emails home to the family saying how much he's enjoying it. So there are a lot of signs that will tell you, that they're really missing. We haven't had one where the person is still alive. We have one case that we hope that that's the case, and that's a Chris Sylvia case. His sleeping bag and everything, there's pictures of it online. If you look up Chris Sylvia, it's CHRIS. And it has a picture of his equipment that's laying there right on the trail. Everything's kind of open and everything, but he had disappeared. There's been a lot of search efforts for him in that area. Not a lot of places he could have went. It has never been found. And the situation, and I believe it's on our website, the story, that is the one hiker that I kind of feel may still be alive. And, I don't know if he is or not, but I hope he is. I hope he's enjoying his life, because he had a kind of rough one. And, sometimes that's some reasons why people do go on trail, to kind of clear their head, try to reset themselves in life. And so that does happen. Yeah.
What about like drugs and alcohol? I was just listening to a podcast where they were kind of talking about a situation where a gentleman, they think that he was trying to like detox from alcohol, and he went on this hike, which I think that's, I don't know, at least you hear about that kind of stuff happening, like people trying to get sober or vice versa. People, being like, oh, let's, I want to hike to the top here and, get hammered drunk or whatever. Have you guys ever had situations where that has come into play?
Actually, yes. So I don't know which case you're talking about, but the Tram Evans case in Joshua Tree, he was someone who had decided, he was an alcoholic. He had hiked to AT, and he was an alcoholic, but he was off for years. And something happened, and he started drinking again. And he was quite embarrassed by this. with his family, and he just wanted to get clean, and get off this alcohol. And so he decided to detox while hiking this trail in Joshua Tree. And I can tell you and your audience, bad idea. Nobody should try to detox on trail. Absolutely not. He had a journal, thankfully, and he wrote in his journal that he was having seizures, that he thought he was going to die. He did. He died. It's not a good idea to try to detox by yourself on a trail.
Yeah.
Because you can die. And that's exactly what happened to Trium, young man, I think it's like 25, youngest of, 3 boys. And the mother came in with her sister, and we were setting up for a search effort. And we had 20 volunteers coming in, and I went in to prep some trails. And when I came back out, well, it was still within Joshua Tree, there was like 7, 8 police cars. And I said, uh-oh. And so I contacted the mom who had just flown into Palm Springs, and, that's where I came in, basically. I was there for her. She came in. I said, you need to call the ranger in charge. He asked her to come in. I was there for her. I got them hotel rooms. I got them dinner, took them the next day for DNA, because unfortunately the skull was not with the remains. So no records, so she had to give DNA, and it was a mess. But they got the backpack back in the journal and was able to learn more about what happened out there. So we have had that case. And they actually started a nonprofit to try to let people know how dangerous it can be to detox.
Yeah.
And so they're doing a really great job with that.
So what about like specific courses that are there any YouTube channels or specific courses that you guys would recommend people watch before they go out, or any specific skill sets that you think are imperative for people, just especially with all the experience? And I'm sure you've seen all the little things that kind of go wrong, because I'm sure most of these cases are not just one big, it's not just one decision. I feel like you hear these stories and it's like, oh, this happened, and then you make this wrong decision, and then you make this wrong decision. So what are some of the most vital skill sets that you would say you have to have if you want to go on one of these big long hikes?
Well, definitely there's so many YouTube videos out there now, which is great. You get a lot of information off of these. I would say if you're going to do a through hike, for instance, you're going to come into all kinds of weather. So, for instance, if you're doing the Colorado Trail, you better know what to do with lightning, right? So lightning comes in like every afternoon, and you don't want to be high on a peak, right? With lightning, so you want to learn about that. If there's snow, you want to have an ice axe, right? So you want to know how to use that ice axe. You can look badass with an ice axe, but if you don't know how to use it, it's useless, right? So skills like that. Survival skills. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there for survival skills, how to survive a night without a shelter, things like that. So there's just so much. Any question you would have about hiking, there's a YouTube video on it somewhere out there.
Yeah. It kind of brings up another question I've had. So right now, especially in the outdoor world, I think there's kind of a little bit of an ultralight craze, especially with some of these through hikes. I mean, we see it with people. I mean, some of the backpacks that people take, and they're essentially sacks, right? There's no frame or anything. They're taking the minimal possible like sleeping bag temp rating that they can take, and they're like, okay, well, I'll take, I'll put my puffy on, or I'll do this to get that extra warmth. Have you seen that, like that ultralight craze, get people into trouble at all?
I've not seen it personally. I can say that a lot of the lightweight items nowadays, more so than ever, like for instance, a lightweight tent, are being made a lot better than they used to be. You have to have your minimums, your sleeping pad, your a sleeping bag, your tent, shelter, things like that. And so when you're hiking for 5 or 6 months, you don't want the heaviest of equipment. You want to get lighter equipment, which always costs more, of course. And so hikers during a thru hike sometimes will gather their equipment up a year or 2 years in advance of their hike, and buy them one piece at a time. But I haven't seen it personally where somebody got into trouble because they had not brought something that they should have, or brought something that was lightweight when it should have been heavier weight. Haven't seen that. What I see the most is, of course, like I said, the Garmin InReach, they just feel like they don't need that. And so that's one piece of equipment that I feel like every hiker should have, which don't. But another reason why I tell them to have it is, what if you come across a hiker that's having a heart attack? You could save that person's life. So that's the one item. But you're right. I haven't heard about it lately, but I know a few years back there was this huge thing I saw on social media where people were way too, like, they weren't bringing the necessary equipment that they needed.
Yeah.
And there may be different reasons for that. Maybe it's someone older that can't carry a lot of weight, possibly. It could just be overconfidence. So there's many reasons. There's always different reasons why something's happening. But there was definitely a craze there. Notice now in the last few years, there's this craze of FKT, and I honestly don't know what that means, but it's like
fastest known time.
Yeah, there you go. Where people are trying to, do these long trails in very short amount of times. And that is something that has grown over the years. So every year there seems to be somebody out there trying to break the record.
Yeah.
How safe is that? I don't know. I don't know.
It's an interesting one because a lot of those, a lot of kind of what people are doing with those is they'll either stash their gear, or they'll have, maybe they'll just carry their sleeping bag and their pad on their back, and then they'll have like multiple gear caches along the way of like their food and stuff, which, if these are probably the most fit people out there, so they can be a little bit more confident. But if you're not carrying, I can imagine that there's still some risk there. If you're not carrying your food, if you hurt yourself and you can't make it to your next food cache, I can imagine that being dangerous. But I haven't heard of anybody. I mean, the other good thing with those is I think people are tracking them pretty heavily, right? So you got a few more eyes. People know that you're going for an FKT, so probably is a little bit kind of balances out there, I guess.
Yeah, there's definitely the awareness of where they're at, what they're doing. I think they are on social media quite a bit. I don't know how that works, but because I haven't followed anyone doing that. But you're right. They have to be very fit physically to even think about doing something like that. Whereas some people will show up at the Southern Terminus and they haven't even trained with a full pack. And they bought their shoes last week. And they're going to decide they're going to hike 5 or 6 months. And, that works for some people, but it doesn't work most of the time. Training with a full pack before you start that trail is only going to help you.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Cathy, I really appreciate you jumping on. I did want to touch on one more thing, and the answer might be obvious because we've kind of been talking about it throughout, but I try to always ask everybody this. I know that you're a big adventurer. You were just telling me that you were in Iceland before we did this podcast. I always ask everybody what one piece of gear that they've used in the past year or two. And maybe for this one we'll throw the Garmin out because we already know that that's an essential. But one piece of gear that once you found it, it stays in your pack or your car or your anytime you're going out to do an adventure. What is that piece of gear that you can't go without now?
Well, I'll tell you what will make or break a hike, an enjoyable hike, compared to a hike where you're suffering the whole time. is your shoes. I get the question a lot, like, what's the best brand of shoe I should buy? And I always say the one that fits your foot the best.
Mhm.
Because you could have Merles or whatever shoe you have, Topos, that might work great for you, but it's not going to work for another person. You can actually ruin your whole hike by not having the right shoes. And once you find that right shoe that fits your foot, that you're comfortable with and works for you, you're going to stay with that brand.
Mhm.
So shoes is actually part of your equipment, and being able to find the right ones for you. And the best thing to do is just go into a shoe shop that has those setups where you stand on it. It shows where your pressure points are at, usually like runner shoes, places that sell runner shoes. They have this equipment that will look at your arch, will look at your ball of your foot and everything, and try to find the right shoe for you. Without the right shoe, you could like have so many blisters, and you just are in so much pain. It ruins your whole hike. And so for me, that, like, if you're just talking about surviving your hike, yeah, you need the right shoe.
Oh yeah.
Talking about survival is, for me personally, is warmth. I have to have warmth. I have to have those matches. I have matches and lighters, and I
Mhm.
have like little cotton balls with some Vaseline on it because they're great fire starters in
Yep.
my pack. And I have my puppy, and I'm just like, I want to stay warm. So
Mhm.
what happens, like, even 40 degrees at night is cold. And so imagine it freezing. I mean,
Yeah.
you walk out of your house in Colorado in January, it's cold. Or imagine not having your big coat on and sitting by a tree and no one knows where you're at. That's a pretty
Yeah.
tough situation.
And I think this is another thing that you hear from survivors is that morale is everything.
Yeah.
And both of those things that you talked about, I mean, there's probably, if you're dry, you can probably survive a lot worse temps if you're dry and if you know how to kind of stay moving. But if it sucks, like same thing with having, if I had a pair of boots this last year that I've been wearing that was just a little bit too small for me. And I put a lot of miles on them because that was the only pair of boots that I had. I was already out on this trip, and it just it messes with you. You're so much more likely to take a shortcut.
Yeah.
You're so much more likely to do something that you typically wouldn't do. Which those are those little things that we talked about that typically lead to getting lost or getting cliffed out, or you decide to cross a river because you don't want to go up and around.
Right.
I think morale is so huge to just keeping a clear mind when you're out there. And both of those things, being warm and having good shoes, are a huge part of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you're not having any fun or anything if your feet are burning in pain. You're just not. And so now you're not happy. And you're right. Those would be a time where someone would take a shortcut, and many shortcuts, and with people, like you said, clipping out and dying.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the right shoes and they took a shortcut. I mean, sometimes the reasons are kind of crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, Cathy, thank you so much. Where can people find you? Where can people get involved?
Yeah, so we have a website. It's www.fofound.org. So it's fofound.org. So you can find us on the website. There's all types of contact information, phone numbers, email addresses, all there. And we also have a Facebook page, the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation, that we try to post regularly on there on cases that we're working. We also have a newsletter that goes out every month, so they can sign up for that on our website. We give updates on searches and what searches are coming up. And if someone's in that area and wants to join us, they're very welcome to. They can also go on our website and volunteer, send in a volunteer form. So someone might say, I can help you search in the state of Washington, or I can help you search in Southern California, or I have a 4-wheel drive if you need it, things like that. So there's a lot of information on the website. Yes, we do love volunteers. Subscribe to our newsletter and the Facebook page, and you'll be able to keep up with what we're doing.
Great. Yep. That was our main point of contact, was kind of seeing, all the posts that you have. I think it's great work that you guys are doing. The more people on board to help get people home,
Right.
Home safely is just huge. So keep it up. And yeah, we really appreciate you jumping on the podcast here.
Absolutely. Thank you.